That's what we're talking about in this moment, is we want to tap into our experience and activate our self-awareness so that we can manage ourselves. So TAP stands for take a breath, acknowledge, and proceed. So the T is obviously take a breath. That's kind of a placeholder for practicing mindfulness. You may take a few breaths in and out. You may ground yourself physically by being aware of, the sensations in your feet or in your, in the bottom half of your body if you're sitting down, or in your stomach or chest or something like that. Or you might collect yourself in the moment in a way that feels right. It could be like a mantra that brings you back to the moment, like remember to breathe or be present or something like that, right? The T is the placeholder to activate mindful awareness. The A has two parts. The first part of the acknowledge is acknowledge how you feel in the moment. So I feel anxious, I feel angry, I feel uncomfortable, I feel frustrated. When you acknowledge how you feel in the moment, this is one of kind of the beauties of mindfulness. When you bring a mindful self-awareness to how you're feeling in the moment, it's not only activating your self-awareness, but there's also a layer of self-management that happens in that too, because you're distancing yourself from the experience. You're disidentifying yourself from the anxiety. You are not the anxiety. You are not the anger. The anger is just something that arises in you. So when you become aware of anger as it is, in your body, in your mind. And again, we'll be going over some techniques for this in the last module. When you do that, you're already distancing yourself from it and disabling some of the aspects of it in terms of it being able to control you and make you react, and so on and so forth. So that's the first part. You acknowledge what's going on inside of you. The second part is a reminder. The second part of the acknowledge is acknowledging the behavior as potentially being a result of trauma, as potentially a way in which the young person is protecting themselves. When I do that, specifically this part right here, this is kind of like a microcosm for activating the whole bottom layer of the pyramid of skillfully engaging traumatic adaptations, because it reminds me that they're potentially protecting themselves and that I should take this less personally. When I take it less personally, there's more room for me to be empathetic to what they're going through in the moment, and there's more of a potential for me to be compassionate with them, and all of that leads into the last part of TAP, which is P, which is proceed. And this is basically the top part of the pyramid, how we engage. What do we actually do next? When I take a breath, when I practice mindfulness, when I acknowledge myself, when I acknowledge the behavior as potentially being rooted in trauma as a way for the young person to protect themselves, basically, again, activating that whole bottom layer, this whole bottom layer of skillful view. It brings it into my awareness in that moment. It helps me engage that person to a much higher level in a much more skillful way, and that leads to a much higher likelihood of positive outcome, of some sort of rectification or resolve coming as a result of my interaction, for example, with the person who's being highly disruptive, or the person who says, I really don't want to do this, I don't want to practice meditation, or I don't want to do whatever it is you're trying to teach. As we were saying in that last example, my ability to engage them skillfully increases the likelihood that there's a positive outcome. Like, for example, I might talk to them and say, hey, I know you don't really want to do this, and you don't have to do it, but can we come to some understanding where you're at least not being disruptive to the other youth in the class who maybe want to do this, or want to learn these strategies, or want to engage in this curriculum or that curriculum, or whatever.